Welcome to my channel and welcome to the review of all the works which I managed to finish in May. May was complicated. It was complicated to push myself to start coloring something. When I started and when I felt that I enjoy the beginning, then it was quite easy to finish even the big work. But mostly I had difficulty with energy, with creativity. I think that it's some kind of psychological regress after the beginning of the war. I realized that during the first months all we had a lot of adrenaline, a lot of energy, maybe it was fed by hatred, and now it's more like sadness, grief, sometimes despair, and sometimes it's really complicated to be active, to be creative. But I think that even with such results which I got in the May, I had to be proud of myself. Sometimes you simply want to sit, you don't want to do even any hobbies, but when you actually start to do something, you feel that it actually helps. The good thing is that I finally started to read. I tried many books, and after a couple of months when I wasn't able to read anything at all, surprisingly, I read three disgustingly sweet, not very realistic novels. They were by Lucinda Riley, I believe. I will put you books on the screen. And as I said, they were far from the regular books which I usually love. I do love family sagas, but here main characters, they had personality of a snail, and characters, they were like only black and white without like gray tones in their characters. They were either very well, very good or very bad. So it's not very complicated plots, but descriptions were good, and yeah, such a light novels, they helped me to start reading again. And actually I think that I will read more novels by the same author. I had good reviews from about her other books, and I am grateful that at least with such a simple books I started to read again, and it was a great relief. But now let's talk about coloring. I would say that I totally failed the mermaid, but the reason was simple. I simply didn't have with me my favorite mermaids book, and the only picture which I actually had and liked, it was in Jasmine Beckett Griffith's book. Let me show you my only mermaid. I am not disappointed. I know that when I reunite with my books, I will color mermaids in Dennis Clett, in Martin Noble, in Jasmine Beckett Griffith's book, but for now I did this one. It's called Mermaid Eclipse, and of course I wanted to show this a very interesting phenomena when the sun is partly covered by the circle of the moon. So I tried to follow some of the parts from the original painting by Jasmine Beckett Griffiths. I copied slightly more violet tint on the waves, for example, but some of the areas I tried to color from myself. So it's a mix from the original painting and from my own imagination. I'm still not sure how I love these waves. Definitely unusual for me. Usually I prefer to use different shades of blue-green colors, but here with such color of the clouds, such color of the sky, I think that it made good color combo between the waves and color of the upper part of the background. I'm not sure if you can see, but her tail, scales on the tail, they are shiny because on top of the Prismacolor pencils I added a little bit of dots using metallic watercolors. And originally on the painting she was with dark hair, and I decided that I need to support violet color which I have on the waves somewhere else on the page, and I I decided to use it as a small color accent on her white hair. So, even if Mermaid was failed, at least I have another finished project in the book by Jasmine Beckett Griffith, and honestly, I need to say that I started another one here, and it's Pirate Captain Molly Morgan. Next, I finished another project which I started in March, and it was period when again my minds they wasn't at place. I simply enjoyed playing with paints, with brush, without doing a lot of color planning, a lot of thinking, and I wanted to play with my metallic watercolors. And I started this page which reminded me about stained glass windows. I hope that you will be able to see how shiny is this page, because I used a lot of paints from my set of metallic watercolors. I started from the central part where I wanted to test different shades of greens plus gold. I was very happy how these paints behave on the white paper, much better comparing to Kolorowanka watercolors of fine tech. And then I decided to test how blue and metal pink will behave on the lower part, because here we have stars and moon. And only after that I started to think how actually I plan to unite blue and pink, green and gold, brown and red brown here. They are not very well combined colors. Actually, everything looked awful somewhere in the middle of coloring. But later, when I added this frame, not added, when I decided that on the frame I can use the same blue colors here, then I also tried to repeatedly use the same green colors, blue colors. So I tried to find uncolored areas where I can repeatedly use the same colors, and in such a way to unite all the parts. I think that in the end it looks quite nice. At least I enjoyed it, and it helped me to get acquainted with my metallic watercolors. It was book Cinderella by Amandine Jacques, and I can't wait when I have my acrylic paints, when I have my gouache and markers to do more illustrations from this book. I want to experiment more with different media. Now let's have a look at my goddesses. Another book when I usually moan about paper, but when I simply I simply is mesmerized by the beauty of the designs, and I want to color more and more. In May, I did one goddess from the northern mythology. It's Sif. Not many info about this goddess. She was a wife of the famous god Thor, but by herself she is a goddess by harvest, and the only famous thing about her is that she has beautiful golden hair, but they were created by dwarfs after the strange fact that Loki, who wanted to somehow revenge Thor or to make some tricks, he shaved her head during her sleep, and when Thor promised to revenge to the Loki, then Loki went to the dwarves and they created instead those beautiful hair from the gold. Strange story, but I think that it was quite interesting to experiment with the colors. Red and orange, they are not my favorite colors. I don't use them very frequently. Here again I did pencil background, a lot of blending on this paper. I think that I did it with artisan. Also, I don't have with me any golden markers. I think that it could be great to outline some of the elements of this frame with gold. Maybe I will do it later. But I enjoyed doing her red dress. I wasn't sure that red dress will suit to the girl with the golden hair and fair skin, but in the end I think that everything went quite well. But the second page which I did in this book I love much more. At some moment I realized that in this book I actually have many designs printed with a black background, and if I feel frustrated with the quality of the paper, maybe first I can do such designs until I will have my markers, then I can do designs where I don't need to do background with pencils. And I selected this Tyche from Greek mythology. She is a goddess of fortune, goddess of luck, and I absolutely love how they selected elements around the goddess. Here she spreads fortune, you can see those golden coins, but behind her we have this famous wheel of fortune that tells us that one of the moment you can be on the top, but the next moment it will rotate and you will be down on the bottom part of the wheel of fortune. I absolutely love this idea and I decided that I want to color her. For now I consider it one of the best my finished works in this book. Here I used Prismacolors to create these soft pastel clouds behind her. And actually Prismacolors worked well here, just like many pencils. I was very happy that I don't have to color the background and coloring was very quick and easy. Now I think that maybe I will do first all the pictures with black background and then I will be able to continue with the rest of the pages, because I know that it's possible to copy these designs on the paper, but I want to have all the goddesses in one book, so I will continue my struggle. Next, let's have a look at the book which I have already for several years. And previously I did one full page here, and then I made two mistakes here. One because of the quality of the paper. Paper is perfect for all the pencils, but with watercolors it doesn't work very well, and I wanted to do watercolor underpaint. I was disappointed and I abandoned one page, and then another page I started with pencils, but I wasn't very happy with very dark colors which I selected for the stone wall, and again I abandoned it. I think that page I will finish one day, but that were reasons why I hadn't colored in it for some time. But I decided that it's exactly the designs which I love. A lot of sweet details, a lot of sweet animals, very cute pictures. Why I don't color in it more frequently? And I decided to start from the almost very beginning. Well, I must confess that before I started to color this page, I didn't pay a lot of attention to all those nursery rhymes, to the stories which we have here, and first I colored it. I was slightly surprised by the strange objects which surround this mother cat and her baby, but only when I started to actually read the lullaby I realized why exactly we have such an object here. Maybe it's because I am product of another culture, so I don't know these stories, those rhymes from the childhood. So I felt a little bit stupid when I discovered that actually it was illustrations from one story, and I think that's the second part of the lullaby, and now it's much more clearer for me why we have such a selection of animals, of characters. In May I managed to color 3 pages. It was easy because they are only partly covered by the images. Here it was easy to incorporate those the text together with the background and images. Here it was more complicated. I still don't know if I need to do something on top. Maybe when I have my soft pastels, I can do similar blue color here, like clouds above the lullaby here. But I was quite happy that at least I colored in this book. I managed to test here polychromos and Prismacolors before when I did my first color page. But here I also used Arteza pencils on the grass mostly when I needed various hues and shades of green. And I was quite happy that even Arteza, with their waxy shining, they behaved well and covered paper well, and I intend to use them more. Next month I think that I will continue to color the same story because I want all the illustrations to this lullaby Hush Little Baby to be finished, and all those pictures, they are still for the same story. And then maybe I will be ready to start something bigger for a full page. But anyway, I'm very happy that now this book is not abandoned. Another start I had in the cat coloring book by Grace G. It was a beautiful present which I got last year, and finally I started to color in it. It's another one of the books which I love from the beginning to the end. I love paper quality. It's not like paper in my other books, maybe it's special. Actually, they are similar. Both are Korean books and paper is actually similar. Somehow it felt like even bright Prismacolor pencils created slightly more dull, even pastel, more delicate colors, not overly bright. And I actually love this effect. You need to do some blending to be able to cover paper better, but I enjoyed each and every moment on coloring on this paper, and I even managed to do not one but two projects. The first one was this farmer's market, which I selected as my first work from the moment when I got the book, but it had to wait for some time. Even on the background, which I usually don't like to do with pencils, it was quite easy to work with Prismacolors without visible pencil strokes. I don't have soft pastels, so I need to do it with pencils, and I think that in the end everything turned quite well. I absolutely love compositions in this book. I love when you don't have to add something to fill in empty background, when everything is very well positioned, when you don't need to think about empty areas, when you don't have any big mistakes about perspective. So everything here is absolutely perfect. So here I have my farmer cat, and the second one, it's cat with sunflowers. You know that quite often we call sunflowers as a symbol of Ukraine together with red berries, Alena. And of course I wanted to do something with blue and yellow. This picture was perfect for it. I think that in May I did the biggest amount of sunflowers I've ever colored, because apart from this area of sunflowers which I did with polychromos pencils, I did another page also with huge amount of sunflowers in Mena de Bonheur, but that picture I colored with Prismacolors, so now I have huge experience how to do color them with various brands. Here I mixed polychromos and Prismacolors. Actually, I think that Prismacolors I love more on this paper. They were quite helpful here on the pavement. I think that I colored in May more with polychromos because I feel that even for higher price they are easier to get for me here in the available art shops, and Prismacolors I have to save them because it will be more difficult to get a replacement now. So it was a good thing because I started to practice more with polychromos pencils. Only on the areas where I feel that creamier texture of Prismacolors will help better to cover the background, or where I need those special gray or pastel colors, there I added Prismacolors. I do love that cat. Maybe it's enjoying sun, or maybe cat is slightly disappointed or pissed off. Maybe he's waiting for someone for the date, because I absolutely love the costume, and I think that maybe they have a date under the sunflowers. But I absolutely love its face. I think that it will be a good thing to try and to practice coloring various colors of the fur. Maybe I will try to find some inspirational cats on the somewhere on Instagram, and I will try to color my cats using those reference pictures. Anyway, I'm crazy happy that I started this book, because it deserved to be colored from the beginning to the end, and this book I can recommend for everyone, for the beginners, for the more experienced colorists. It has a variety of interesting subjects. The only thing I hadn't tested yet is watercolors. I am a little bit afraid that it will be like with this book, so I decided that maybe first I will enjoy pictures with pencils, and then carefully I will start to experiment with watercolor paints. And talking about pictures with animals and sunflowers, let's have a look at my manual de bonheur. I started this spread in the end of April, and it took me quite a long time to finish it, but I think that in the end everything worked exactly like I imagined. So just let me adjust my camera to put it fully on the screen. And here I have another selection of sunflowers. As usual, in this book I use Prismacolor pencils. I love how they behave in this Japanese edition, so I enjoyed doing this a lot, even if it took me crazy amount of time to finish it. Of course, here my markers also were quite helpful. I tried to outline at least flowers to make them with a lesser amount of black lines. Well, animals here, they are quite small, so I didn't try to make all the fur very realistic, working on each hair. They are small, so I paid more attention to the color balance. I tried to use a very bright color for their clothes to attract attention for the small playing animals. And the biggest disappointment was that one of the cute cats, the ginger one, which I put into the sailor's coat, it was partly covered by the binding, and it was impossible to open the book completely and to color this ginger cat, so part of the cat is hidden inside of the binding. You know that these books, they soon will be available on Amazon in English edition. I hope that paper in all these 3 books reprinted in English edition, that paper will be also very good, and I hope that they will think something about those beautiful pictures partly hidden inside of the binding. But honestly, it was the first picture probably where I had such a problem. On my previous spreads, somehow our main characters were better positioned, so they were farther from the central part, from the binding. So it was the first time when I was really disappointed, because I loved this cat. I think that in May I had some soft spot for the spreads. That's one spread which I finished, and I also have finished spreads in the books by Kirby Razanes. Usually I color part of such spread, then I do a break for a couple of days, and I will return, do another part, and then again I do a break, and in such way during the whole month I am able to finish several spreads. Of course, in the beginning of the month I planned to do another spread here with the spring flowers, but as I said, sometimes in May it was really very hard to push yourself to do anything at all and to have at least some positive set of mind, some creativity. So as I said, I am quite proud even with the works which I managed to finish. I try to be not hard on myself, because hobby, it's the thing where we don't have to be hard on ourselves. In Main Street, I did 2 pictures. Actually, I planned to do just one, and it was page with shoes. Not the page which I expected from myself to color, because usually I am not a big fan of the interior designs of the shops. For me, it's boring to color similar things like many shoes or many cakes or many bottles of perfumes or something like this. I much more prefer outer city scenes, landscapes. But then somehow I was thinking that it would be interesting to practice how to show that part of the tree is hidden behind the glass and part of it we can see through the open door. Then I decided that I can do wooden background, wooden floor and walls as a basic color. So in the end, I would say that I enjoyed this one, and somehow immediately after this one I decided that I also want to color the shop with the music instruments. Here I tried to show the atmosphere of the vintage shop with the old wood for the door, for the shop windows. I tried to use more reddish color combo for the wood, and I think that it looked quite well together with a couple of bright points where I used blue for the name of the shop and here near the entrance for the tiles on the pavement. Well, what can I say? I'm happy that slowly but surely I fill in this book. There are still several designs which are not very inspiring for me, but I'm glad that still I have a lot of interesting pictures. Probably in June I will try to switch to another book by Teresa Goodrich. I already mentioned in the video when I made a flip through of all my finished works here, that when I color one by one pictures here, I start to repeat myself, to use the same color combos for the walls, for the bricks, and it's better to do some break, maybe for a couple of months, and then I will return to this book. Now when I have my Village Charm book, of course I want to color in the newest book by Teresa, so this one will have to wait for a little bit. Another book which I started in May, it was Mythographic by Fabiana Attanasio. I got it in the end of the last year, but I was much more attracted to the frozen fantasies, and this one it awaited. Now in May I managed to color 3 pictures here. It's still a big struggle with hiding all the hidden objects, and I think that I spent much more energy on hiding them than on actually enjoying the coloring. But in the same time I realized that for these pictures I can combine watercolors and pencils, that paper allows me to do so, and in such way coloring here it's quite quick, and that's why I managed to finish 3 pictures. That was my first one. Here I started from the Lady Wisteria bark and flowers. I did them mostly with polychromos pencils and a little bit of Prismacolors for the pastel shades. I enjoy both polychromos and Prismacolors. For me there are no preference, but surprisingly still the best choice for me is Sucolor pencils. I don't know why, but I absolutely love how those budget pencils work here, so maybe all the mythographic books I will turn into practice with Sucolor pencils. They are relatively cheap, you can find them as Brad Funner, as color pencils, so I hope that you also will be able to follow me if you want to when I color with color pencils. So the background I did on the last step, and I used watercolors. A watercolor helped me to mask some of the most awful objects. One of them, this magical goblet, I decided to keep. It somehow matched the style of the page, and also this gemstone. Oh, I also decided that I won't be covering it. So that's my Lady Wisteria. I enjoyed it a lot, and after this one I decided that I will do the Japanese design. When I got the book, it was one of my favorites, but I was slightly bothered that in the right bottom corner here we have a very intense composition, and the left upper corner it's much emptier comparing to this part. So I wasn't sure what to do with this disbalance, and it usually means that you need to do some kind of beautiful background here on the sky. But I was tired of traditional simple sky blue background, and I decided to experiment with mint. I have with me my watercolor set with some of the pastel colors. Pastel means that they have white pigment and they are not transparent but semi-opaque, and those watercolors, they are capable to mask hidden objects. With 2 layers of them I was able to mask some of those strange elements, I don't know how to call this, swirls, and some of the hidden objects here and here they were. I also mixed it with my mint watercolor with white gouache, and it also helped me to get more opaque paint. But I was so absorbed in mixing those colors that my coloring started from a mistake. I started to do green background from this area which is supposed to be a mountain. So later I had to cover it with another this blue-gray color. In the end, it's not perfect. It's good but not perfect. I definitely enjoyed doing those birds. I think that they're supposed to be swallows. Sorry, not sure about pronunciation and correct name of the birds, but I decided to turn them into famous Japanese singing bird uguisu. I discovered it once when I did page in Manuel de Bonheur. I was very surprised by the unusual green, olive green color of feathers, and I decided that I can use this color combo once more. Another not very wise color choice I made on those temples or castles. I was thinking that if I would use a slightly more intense mint green on the roofs, it would match color of the background. But when I started to do it, I realized that no, it doesn't work very well. So I did this roof and then I switched to red. Red created better contrast, and now my temples, they look slightly strange. One is red, one is green. Well, anyway, each picture, it can't be perfect, so I'm still happy that I finished it. I also tried to sprinkle a little bit of white, but here we can see this white dots, and on the light mint background it was partly it disappeared because all colors were very light. At least I'm happy with another work with of hiding all those objects. I think that now I mastered how to do it quite well. And finally, picture which I consider the best among all those 3, it's this Venice in the lotus pond. Again, here I started from a watercolor background, regular violet watercolor with couple of drops of pearlescent paints to create those stars and constellations here. Then here I used another one of the pastel watercolors with white pigment, and this lavender color helped me to mask objects in the water. Then I used Sucolor and polychromos pencils for the lotus flowers for the leaves, together with acrylic markers to hide some lines and to emphasize some green parts. And then, of course, it was a huge pleasure to color this Venice picture with the beautiful Venice architecture. I think that everything went quite well. At least I enjoyed it a lot. I hope that you also love the video which I created for this page. As I say here, I started to use again Sucolor pencils here on the water, for some of the buildings, on the sky, and I am quite pleased how they behave on this paper. They definitely deserve to be used more. I have huge plans for the mythographic series. Somehow I color quickly in this book, and surprisingly color choice is also quite easy for me. And when we are promised that in the next books in this series there won't be any hidden objects, it's definitely a good reason for me to collect all the books from this series. I can definitely declare for myself May as a month of Kirby Razanes, another one. I colored a lot of Kirby's works in April, and I did the same thing in May. Also, May was a month of Kirby because I got a beautiful present from Candice. Now I also have the latest book by Kirby, and for me it's absolutely amazing. I can't wait when I dive into that book and start to do something in it, because there all the designs are amazing. But I still enjoy Fragile World and World Within Worlds. And in May, in Fragile World, I did one page with a watercolor background. I discovered that actually in this book we have a lot of marine pictures where we need to do water as a background, ocean or sea or even river, and I decided that I will practice to do water with different media. For this one I selected watercolors. I am blessed that I can use watercolors on this paper, and here I try to do some kind of swirls of water and tiny fishes around the whale shark. Well, I can't say that it's exactly like I imagined it, but I tried to use slightly different shades of blue, starting from a very intense industrial blue to simple turquoise blue, turquoise green colors, and I hope that this swirl, which I also try to emphasize with a little bit of white highlights here, that it's visible. And of course with watercolor paints it was much quicker to color all those simple tiny fishes. With pencils I don't think that I have enough of patience to do such work. But for the whale shark I used pencils. I really tried to show a very interesting texture or ornament on her skin, because it's gray with a lot of white dots. Here it was helpful that those dots and stains were created by Kirby. On the head I was less successful, but at least I am glad that I made something similar to the real whale shark. Another page which I did, it was also with water, but this time I did everything with pencils. Here I have Hector's dolphins. They are the tiniest existing dolphins. They are from New Zealand and Australia, I believe. And here I had probably 80% of polychromos pencils and 20% of Prismacolor pencils. Together they worked perfectly. And even if it was crazy long coloring, I enjoyed it a lot. Of course I also used white paint to mask some of the black lines to create a better texture of the foam on the upper part of the waves. and I think that everything turned exactly like I wanted. The only area which was a little bit disappointing, it was this upper part of the sky. After a couple of layers of pencils, I started to feel that paper is already burnished, and maybe I would prefer to apply another layer of slightly more intense blue, cobalt blue color, but paper didn't accepted pencils anymore, so at least I'm glad that I practice with more greenish blue. Usually I use blue with a little bit of green when I do water. Here water is more greenish. And I'm glad that everything I planned, I managed to do it here. Because dolphins by themselves, they are in gray and black, so what can you do? I simply added a little bit of blue as highlights and color accents, but that's all you can do with the colors. So I decided that instead the ocean wave have to be colorful and quite dramatic looking. Surprisingly, I have more finished pictures somehow in the end of the book, and that's another spread which I finished here. In May, I also have in mind a couple of pictures which are also on the two sides, so they are both spreads. I definitely don't intend to abandon this book, even if now I have Mythic Vault. And finally, our last book in this video will be again by Kirby. It's A Vault Within Walls. I mourned in the beginning of May that I want to color dragons, and my favorite dragon books, they are not with me, but I decided that dinosaurs, they are actually can be considered as dragons. Why not? So I did this pterodactyl spread. Again, when I look at it now, I don't know how I managed to color it with pencils. It was crazy long, especially this background. I wish I could use watercolors here, but no, in this book I have to work with pencils. And actually I started this one because I wanted to do something with unusual color for the leaves. I was tired of green, of selecting various hues of green for my next projects, and I decided no, here with such subject I can have blue leaves, I can have golden leaves, so especially here on the ginkgo tree, and that's where I started. Then I selected this very dark purple and violet color for the background, trying to create also some light halo around the dinosaurs. Again, I mixed polychromos pencils, which were more helpful for the planets, for the pterodactyl bodies, with Prismacolors, which helped me to do actually this background. So a lot of work, but I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud that I found courage for such a complicated project and for such a long work. Actually, in the beginning of May, I was thinking about doing either Egyptian spread, this one, or maybe a more simplified picture with bald eagle. And now they will have to wait, but maybe one of them I managed to do in June. I have to think about my June plans, and I will try to film another video when I make final choice which books and which pictures I want to use during June. Anyway, that's where all my finished works, and as I said, considering my mental state, I'm proud of all my works. I decided that I don't want to put any negative thoughts into colorings. I saw beautiful works by other artists, colorists, when they are able to show their mental states, their thoughts into paintings, into colorings. I don't know if I want to save such memories on my books, so instead I decided against it and to do as usual bright and positive pictures, where as usual I use all the set of pencils on one work, and I think that I can be proud of my May works. As usual, thank you for your supporting comments. Huge thanks to Candice for the beautiful present. Thank you for all your lovely messages, and I hope that my videos in May didn't disappoint you, and that in June again I will try to do something nice for you and for myself, of course. Thank you for watching, and until my next videos.